Good evening. India and Pakistan are on the brink of war. Today, we got wind of a pro-Pakistan demonstration outside the Indian High Commission in London. Now, there are huge concerns that a war over there might lead to a war on the streets of Britain. So I went down to have a little look for myself. It's just gone 5:30 here in central London, and we are at the back of the Indian High Commission. What you'll be able to see here is police vans, police vans, police vans, police vans, everywhere as far as the eye can see, including down that road there and outside of the Indian High Commission. Why? Well, we are expecting, in a few minutes' time anyway, many protesters, pro-Pakistan protesters, to turn up and voice their displeasure at the military assault by India last night. So, let's see how this plays out. So I'm now outside the front of the Indian High Commission. The police, as you can see, are everywhere, dotted around, armed police on the front door. They've made a decision, as it currently stands, to not block this road off, so people can still come and go. Now, only time will tell as to whether or not that's a wise decision, but the Indians have just unveiled a whopping great big Indian flag and draped it off the roof and dangled it down. So they're certainly ready, aren't they? Eventually, some pro-Pakistan protesters actually turned up.
Peace! We want peace! We want peace! We want peace!
As you can hear, more protesters have been gathering, and some of the chants have been, "We want peace," "Say no to war," "India terrorism," "Modi is a terrorist," but you can hear now, "We want peace." Maybe I could just try and see if I can speak to the person who's doing most of the shouting. So you think that if there is a war between India and Pakistan, that's going to be very bad here?
Exactly.
What could happen, though, do you think?
Because it's a hate speech, hate each other, because the local council is full of the Pakistan and Indian. We need peace in Asia and we need peace in Britain as well. If we don't bring to the closer in peace and love, it would be very, very difficult for UK politics.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, I want to make it very clear, he was obsessed with the idea of peace. The point that he made there was that we have Indian British people and Pakistani British people on the same local councils, for example, in quite a few areas, and that he's worried that that might kick off. One woman felt as though Keir Starmer's trade deal announcement yesterday with the Indian leader Modi was provocative to the Pakistani community.
Modi, their Indians' leadership, with our Premiership, Keir Starmer, shook hands on a business deal of 40.
What do you think of this trade deal? Did you find that trade deal quite provocative?
So as I've spoken to the police officers now, for me it is, because the timing, the deal is not going to kick in till 2 years. So why did you need to announce it yesterday? And right in the middle of the night, the bombs happen. But for me, the questions are, how dare you? Where'd you get the strength to do that?
OK, so in 2022 and again last year, there were violent clashes between Hindus and Muslims in Leicester. Again, people seem to think that Leicester could be a potential flashpoint, but they seem to blame the former British Indian Prime Minister Rishi Sunak for that.
Majority of my friends are all Indians, OK? We are living in England in harmony and peace. We have no differences. Believe me, Indian and Pakistani will live in harmony. And I don't think that is going to create any problem. Only problem is going to create in Leicester, because the majority of the people are in Leicester are people who've been given visa to come to UK by Rishi Sunak.
But one man who, by the way, I'd like to give a special shout out to, because he's an avid GBNews viewer, has a message for the Indian and Pakistani communities in Britain, urging everyone to just stay calm.
Important for the people of Pakistan and Indians to stay calm, because they're all working class people. There is no need to cause conflict here. We are in this country, we are working class people. Now we don't have to do this. This international community must play a role. If this carries on like this, it's going to end up a disaster.
So, the latest news this evening is Pakistan has vowed to make India pay for their missile strikes. So, look, the problem isn't going away, is it? It's peaceful for now. Let's hope it stays that way.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GBNews discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GBNews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Let's get the thoughts of my panel. We have the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. We, of course, have the senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and the political commentator, Eve McQuillan. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Mark, I'll start with you. How worried are you about the potential for sectarian violence and issues on the streets of Britain going forward?
I'm a lot more worried about the potential for nuclear war between India and Pakistan. I mean, you've got to tell us, Patrick, be honest, were there more coppers outside the Indian High Commission than there were protesters?
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So at this stage, it was the lion that didn't roar, right? Yeah. And it looked incredibly peaceful. Yeah. I mean, even the protesters didn't really seem up for it. I mean, sort of, we want peace, if they could be bothered to chant it, right? Yeah. So, look, of course there will be protests here around embassies and high commissions if anything sparks off anywhere in the world. You know, people in Britain have very strong views about Israel and Gaza, for example. As long as it is retained as, you know, protests outside embassies and high commissions, I'm happy. We've got to keep a watch on Leicester, obviously, and areas in which there's a high Indian and Pakistani community. But I think the real problem here is peace in the Indian subcontinent, not violence on our streets.
OK, fair enough. And it was quite interesting to speak to people there because you were saying, getting chants there of we want peace, we want peace. And I'd asked them a couple of questions about, like, OK, well, the latest is that Pakistan said there's going to be massive retaliation. Oh, yeah, they'd be absolutely justified to do that. If they decide that they want massive retaliation, then they can level India. So, look, I am concerned. We've seen it before. I mean, again, I will stress that was a very peaceful demonstration there. But the message I was getting there from quite a few of those people is it might be quite peaceful there, but they're worried about some of the more provincial parts of the UK. They are worried about your kind of rush homes in Manchester, you know, those parts of Blackburn, Leicester's, for example. Yeah,
totally. I mean, as you were saying, back in 2022, there were riots that were sparked off by a cricket match, I think it was, but the underlying root cause of this is control over Kashmir. Now, the UK's position is that we should not provide a solution to this. And Starmer will be facing a lot of pressure from within his party over this, and he will be at pains to call for calm and unity within his party, but he must lead by example. I mean, even today in the Commons, a Labour MP, Tahir Ali, was saying that Kashmir has never been part of India, it never will be, so that can remain a distant dream of Modi. Now, if Starmer can't, get a grip within his own party on this, then that might, this sort of rhetoric really fuels tension and division within our streets.
Keir Starmer's got a problem with this, has he not? I mean, he's got MPs there like Tahir Ali, who are, I mean, utterly obsessed with anything other than what's going on in Birmingham. I mean, if it's not Gaza, it's the Mirpur airport, isn't it, I suppose? How does Starmer get a hold of his party, do you think, and deal with this if tensions in India and Pakistan continue?
I think Starmer has to be very firm about this de-escalatory line. I absolutely agree with you, Mark, about the risk of nuclear war. 2 nuclear powers, we cannot be messing around with this. And I think he will be firm about that. I think what we need to see on a local level is local leadership, good local civic leadership, bringing communities together so it stays peaceful. People have an absolute right to express their views in a democratic society, and that's exactly what the people in the video were doing. If it stays like that, we're fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually thought there was a chap towards the end there who I thought made a very, very good point, which is that in large parts of Britain where you have Indian and Pakistani communities living side by side, they are often kind of quotes unquote working class communities. They're all, and he basically said to me off camera, he's like, look, I'm a member of the working class. I haven't got time for some kind of race war on the streets. Right? I want to go and run my business. I want to work hard. I want to, support my family. And his Indian friends want to do that as well. So I do hope that shines through.
Yeah, I mean, look, this major generalisation alert. Overwhelmingly, I actually think the Indian community has integrated brilliantly in the UK. The Pakistani community, less so. As I say, massive generalisation alert. My hope is that if this chap you were speaking to, was he the avid GBNews viewer?
Yeah, he was.
That's why he's talking so much common sense, Patrick. Let's hope both communities actually celebrate being British and getting down to some hard work and not punching each other in the face and, earning a fair buck. Let's hope that they do that and celebrate, being in Leicester, Blackburn, whatever, and getting on with their lives. That might bring the community together rather than tearing it apart. I'm holding on to that small flickering hope, at least. Yeah,
I mean, there was the other aspect, as a gentleman there quite rightly raised, which is in positions of local power right across the country, often local councils can be made up of, a sizable Indian population and a sizable Pakistani population as well. So you might end up seeing kind of turf wars there locally, metaphorically speaking, of course. There are big aspects. I mean, he even mentioned at one point, the England cricket team to me, where he said at some point in the England cricket team you have kind of British Hindus and at some point you have British Muslims. And I thought, gosh, they really do feel the divisions, the Indians and Pakistani community in Britain. Like, they really do feel it, don't they? And, I hope we don't going forward on it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with Mark, actually. I think this is almost an opportunity for the government and local community and religious leaders to go, listen, the one thing that does unite us is that we are British citizens. We are British Indians and British Hindus. And so we shouldn't be fighting some proxy war based on a conflict abroad. And if we get that message across, that that's what unites all of us in this country, then hopefully this will remain.
And the interesting thing there, I think, for local councils, and we say this a lot about the government, and you raised it potentially about some Labour politicians, Patrick, stick to your lane. If we start getting local councils taking a position on Kashmir rather than on potholes or refuse collection, then things could get out of control. If we can only make sure our politicians stick to their lane, things will be a lot more peaceful.
The other uncomfortable truth about this is, as was raised with me several times today as well, was that India basically backs Israel and Pakistan essentially backs Palestine. And that is just below the surface as well. And that is a very real issue. It's another issue that they were all raising to me. I mean, how big a problem do you think that's going to be?
So I don't think that is going to be a problem above and beyond what it already is. If I'm honest, I think that most people in this country who have a strong position on that conflict, whether they're personally impacted or not, are able to express that democratically, fairly. And where we have problems, where we have people breaking the law, we have a police service that does something about that. That's what we need to see. We need to see proper democratic discussion, community leaders engaged, talking about calm with their communities, and then where there are incidents, they need to be dealt with quickly and properly, good evidence by the police and a proper process of law.
Yeah, and again, I will say I've been very critical at times, and I stand by it, of the police in various different protest situations. I appreciate that was an incredibly small protest today. However, I thought they did a wonderful job. There were certainly a lot of them.
Overmanned.
Well, massively overmanned. It got to a point where I think some of the police started to look a bit bored. But I think they had every right to be there, to be fair. So there we go. And just very quickly, very very quickly as well, the chap at the end there was a GBNews viewer. It was interesting because he came over, he said hello, watches GBNews all the time, and took a little selfie. And then after we'd done the interview, one of the kind of minders of the pro-Pakistani group came up and was like, you shouldn't be talking to him, he's from GBNews. And he just went, no, I watch his show.